Hey, what is going on, guys? It's your boy Az. We are back here with another one for you guys, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic day and a fantastic start to your weekend here. I wanted to kind of get this out to you guys here because we've obviously seen now with how things are with most recently the most current towers, whether it was the Storm Tower, or now currently with the War Tower as well. I wanted to kind of briefly talk about some of the tips and strategies that I will be moving forward here in terms of, in terms of how we can kind of attack, right? And how we can progress here in this new era, right? In this new age of fear where resources and training materials are still at an all-time crunch. But now we're also seeing now that Scopely has kind of thrown in another wrench here, which is the fact that they're forcing us basically to build up a lot of these older teams that we previously have not brought up, right? Like for example, in the Storm Mighty Tower, we had not actually brought up the new mutants. So then I was actually stuck on the cell 12. And of course, as well, I did have some guides out kind of addressing ways that we can kind of bypass some of them without, for example, I think node 4 or cell 4, where it's Villain Mystic, that required the Curse team, but we were able to kind of find a workaround by using Null and Mephisto. Whoa, that snuck up on me. Sorry. And then, of course, as well, Cell 5 was this Daring Warriors, and we weren't able to get through it as well here unless we had a very specific team involving like Jeff the Landshark, Sentry, Songbird, and some other ones. But yeah, ultimately, we had to get a little bit creative, right? And now, having said that as well here, with regards to Cell 12, I had come to terms with the fact that we weren't going to build up new mutants, and we would have to figure out a workaround. And I'm hoping still, and we'll have to see when it does come back, that we can maybe use hopefully the Exalted X-Men, right? Because this entire tower is about Storm, and it would just be silly to me if we have a fully built up Exalted team and you're not able to get through the nodes that would require the mutants, right? That would be something here. But anyways, so let's quickly talk about a few things here that I will be implementing. And again, I don't know if they're exactly tips or tricks, but they're definitely guides or strategies that I will be kind of using moving forward here in this new age. And I hopefully you guys are able to get some value out of it as well here. But do let me know in the comments below what you guys think. First and foremost, I want to talk about the level cap, which is the fact that we've only brought up certain characters to level 110, right? And of course, as well, I have most of them here. You can see here, I kind of filtered out the level here on the filter, and then that way it kind of lists off our characters basically from level 110 and beyond. And now I brought up Professor Xavier because he's Professor Xavier, and of course as well you'll see that I also have the 7 red unlock on him thanks to the terror credits. But that was a very, very logical decision, right? Now you'll see here that I also have some of the Daring Warriors built up. You'll see that I have Night Thrasher, Eclipse, Storm Mighty, and Speedball, and yeah, we had to bring some of these guys up for the purposes of the Breaker Scourge. Now, having said that, now it wasn't something that I had initially planned, but now moving forward here, and depending on what happens here, even past the Surfer Breaker Scourges, moving into the future here, depending on what comes next in the next chapter, and maybe there'll be like a symbiote or a Scorpion slash Breaker version, right? Supposedly it's going to be Scorpion based on the the image and stuff, but it's going to be very interesting to see here moving forward on what the Scourges will require of us. And now I did actually what I did was I favorited a lot of the characters that I used for my Scourge, right? And you guys will see that here. Like if you see this list here on some of the characters that I used for that Surfer Breaker, you'll see that there was only a handful of characters that I had at level 110. And again, moving forward now, if you're one of those individuals that had built up a lot of your characters up during the race to 110, and you brought up Phoenix Force, Fantastic Four, Brimstone, and you pushed them all to 110, now we're going to be getting a severe, the word I'm looking for here is a severe handicap, because Every time you're pushing 5 levels, you're going to be wasting 1,300 training materials and also 13 mil. If I was doing this with all my characters, this would obviously deplete my gold supplies, right? And yeah, and it's going to make things harder. So I guess the point I'm trying to make here is moving forward here and how we can kind of take advantage of the fact that if you're a minimal spender like me, or if you're free to play like Gideon, Rage, Big Positive Geek, then it's time that we use our gold more efficiently. And we're not bringing up characters that, you know, every single character, right? I also have my Blue Marvel here at 110 as well. But yeah, we never really did bring up our Fantastic Four. They're still level 106. I realized after I brought them to 106 that they were still competing, and they were able to compete with the arena shard even against the level 110 guys. So I never bothered, and they were getting the same job done here. And now arena's kind of moved away from the priority side of things, so it makes a lot of sense. But what that means here moving forward is even characters like Odin, Surfer Breaker, Quasar. We need to be smart with our resources, guys. We can't push every single character just because we want to. And again, you can take all my comments and my feedback and throw it out the window. If you want to push a character to 110, you definitely can. It's not something that I'm telling you guys you have to do. But moving forward here, and whether we have a Scorpion, Scourge, or if T'Challa, Black Panther, is going to be the next mighty character, if we want access to these newer and better and greater characters for the future towers and for the future Scourges, then we have to be smarter and we have to be stingier with using our resources. And that means even after these events conclude, and whether it's the Storm Tower or the Mighty Tower or the War Tower or the new Pocket Dimensions or the Danger Room, we have to be smarter with our resources, and we can't bring every single character to level 110. So that's kind of what I'll leave there with you guys with the first point. So just trying to make sure that you're smart with your gold spending, and of course as well, not needlessly bringing every single character up to 110. Just because you can doesn't necessarily mean you need to. And over time, I feel like you won't get punched in the face when you do need to bring some of these characters up, because I had a lot of questions. I had a lot of issues from people, concerns, all that other stuff, saying, hey, how do I bring these characters up to 110? I don't have the resources. I don't have the gold. And that's how I did it. I brought my Daring Warriors up to 110 because we were smart and we had hoarded up our gold and we had saved up the resources for it. So that's the reason there. And hopefully when Surfer Breaker comes back, when the Scorpion Scourge comes, if it does come, then you guys are ready and you guys will have the resources and hopefully the gold and the training materials to accommodate that. Second point I want to chat to you guys about is the Yellow Star Dilemma. So again, let's use Storm here as an example here. We had actually gotten 4 stars on her thanks to her event, and of course her event will be back, and we got a 4-star unlock on her, which is great, which is fine. We're going to be able to get another good chunk of shards on her, and we should be able to push her to at least a 7 by the time the Storm Mighty Tower is done. But having said that, now I think people are a little bit upset here because they're saying, oh, I can only get a 3-star or a 4-star, and they're limited, right? They're limited by their stars, and I think the saving grace here is, and again, you guys go ahead and you guys can take these comments and throw it out the window if you guys don't agree with me here, but I think the saving grace here is, and again, we'll use the Daring Warriors as our example, but we were able to push very, very high in the leaderboards, right? We were able to get a 6 red Silver Surfer Breaker with only a 4-star team. I had actually done it initially with when Storm was actually only a 3-star. So again, just because we have low stars on these guys doesn't necessarily mean their impact will be minimal. Now, I'm still trying to work up my Night Thrasher, and I'm still trying to work up some Speedball shards, but it's okay. We have a 4 yellow, 3 red Eclipse. They're level 110, and they're also G20. A vast amount of their stats are already set into their character kits when they become Gear Tier 20. So really, this is not about the star ranks. The star ranks definitely help, and obviously if you can bring your character up from a 4 to a 5 to a 6 and eventually to a 7, that's great. But there's no rush for that right now, guys. There's no rush, and there shouldn't be a huge concern right now if you feel like, hey, what's the point of even doing these events? I'm only going to get a 2-star Storm. I'm only going to get a 1 yellow Silver Surfer. And what I want to leave you guys with here is the fact that over time, We're going to be able to build our resources, and we're going to build the stars on these guys, right? And just because we don't have a 7 right out of the gate doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. And again, I'll use an example here when I had done the towers. Let's go into Winter Guard, because those are some relevant teams that people were working on, right? And let's go into New Mutants as well here. And again, you guys will see here, right? I've barely built up these teams. These were the teams that you basically, some are required for War, and then some are required for Cosmic Crucible. But you guys will see here that I haven't even leveled them up. But let's actually look at the my Winter Guard, because I just realized now that some of these guys are 3 diamonds because they're older characters. So I guess my point is a bit mute here. But if you look at the bottom 5, right? If you look at Warlock, Darkstar, Ursa Major, Cannonball, Wolfsbane, yes, they're only like around 3 stars, 4 stars, and we haven't even cared really too much about getting them leveled up and geared and tiered, right? But we don't need to if we're not going to use them, right? So yeah, maybe you don't want to use your Storm. Maybe you don't want to use your Surfer Breaker and you don't want to put resources to it. And it's fine. You don't have to. You actually don't need to. But I want to let you guys know now that we were able to compete very, very competitively, and we were able to get our Surfer Breaker at 6 red, even despite the fact that we only had 4 stars on our Daring Warriors. So I guess the take-home message here is the fact that we were still able to compete free to play very, very competitively in the top 1,000 and minimal spending. And on top of that, we didn't really stress out too much in terms of the event because we had all the gold, we had all the training resources, and we could push these guys up to gear tier 20, level 110, and it wasn't too much of a hurdle, right? It wasn't too much of an issue for us because we had planned already. We had amassed large amounts of gold and some training materials, and of course as well as the gear tier 20 materials goes. Obviously, if you are pushing for Professor X, that's not going to be a priority, right? You're going to be pushing some of those key teams already that you need for Professor X, right? You're going to be working on your Insidious 6, right? You're going to be working on maybe some of your Immortal Weapons or the Hellfire team, right? If you're focused on raids, right? So again, it all depends on where you are in the game. But just because, right? Just because we're not able to get a 7 yellow or a 5 yellow unlock on everybody right away, it's not the end of the world, right? And again, this goes back to even if you go down to the bottom here, I have, I guess most recently, right, we have the Shadow Conclave. And again, I haven't decided to put resources into these guys just yet. But having said that, we do have them unlocked now. Malekith will be in a few weeks, free to play. And once that is a factor and we can start doing that, then we can start bringing these guys up. And when we do, we're going to have the resources to bring them up, right? Because we've been waiting. We've been carefully planning. And we will have the resources and the gold and the training materials if it is worth the reward structures and if it's worth your time investment. Because as well, depending on what you do, depending on the Mighty Tower, the War Tower, if you don't want to pursue the Storm Shards, or if you don't want to pursue the Awakened materials for Jeff, then you can just keep hoarding your resources, right? And you can play it smart. You can wait until the next event that actually, that you are passionate about, and then you'll be ready to pivot when you can. And of course, with that in mind, having said everything else now and again, I apologize if you guys don't agree with my comments or if this seems like it's common sense here. But it is going to be the strategy that I will be using moving forward. And again, as well, I just want to recap the fact that the last point I want to leave you guys with here is lean on us. Lean on the content creators, right? Whether it's Rage, whether it's Boyan, Gideon, you name it. Lean on the content creators to experiment and find out the solutions for you guys, right? Whether it's the Storm Tower previously, whether it's the War Tower now, it's one of those things where you can, do your research, lean on the content creators before you pull the trigger. See what works and what doesn't work. See what we're using, see what some of the other guys are using. And of course as well, everyone's roster is different. But what we can say is this: once you kind of get that information and you're able to learn a bit, watch some videos, go through the nodes, see how they are, see what you can or can't do, see if the rewards are worth it as well. And then from that point on, we can use that information and make an informed decision. And again, keep in mind, every time this comes back, every time we have a tower, every time we have a Scourge, we're going to be able to learn from them, right? And we're going to be able to make things a little easier for us. So I guess that's the point I want to leave you guys with here, is the fact that we can learn from our mistakes. We can learn moving forward through this new age. And of course, as well, we can use the information that's been provided to us. So that way we can do better, right? Other than that, guys, that's all I got for this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully you guys were able to get some value out of it. And other than that, I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your weekend. Take care.